I was very happy to do that. Then they told me it was in Voiceover, and I was like, maybe I should have rethought this, because traveling from Banjo to Voiceover is a bit tough sometimes, but it was well worth it, and it's been really nice so far. So today, I'm going to talk about what I do a little bit, a very tiny little bit, because it'd be boring for you to hear about what I do at any great length. But we'll jump into, but what I do will segue very nicely into what I want to talk about with you today. Just two things, three actually. One is, I'm from New York, so I speak quickly and I have an American accent. So if at any point you're lost, confused, or not sure what the hell I'm saying, you need to tell me, all right? Don't sit there like a nice guy for like, and then at the end just be like, what did he say? All right, don't do that. All right, don't waste your time. You don't have to be polite. The other thing is, I'm from New York and I curse all the time. So if I say fuck, shit, asshole, motherfucker, cocksucker, dickhead, if that bothers you, the door is there. And thirdly, and really importantly, if anything I talk about, you feel you need a question, you want to just ask, cut me off. Cut me off. This isn't about me. It's actually about you. Because a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about, I talk about every day. I talk about them every single day. So I have the pleasure of hearing myself talk every day. But you guys might have a question, so throw your hand up. I know that we're going to leave some time for questions at the end. But it's really important that you ask. It's important that you ask. You've chosen to come, and you've chosen to listen to some stuff. But it's really important that you ask your questions and you understand, or you think you understand, and you better understand what we talk about. Okay? So let's jump in. I teach method acting. Now, I'm sure, being that you're all here today, from your different walks of life and your different roads to get to theater and or film and television and or the web space, television commercials, that kind of thing, you've certainly heard of method acting, but let's just assume none of us have. Okay. What is method acting? And that's a really good question, actually, because, it starts to feel like it's really important. You meet these really fancy people like Seinfeld, and they're like, I'm a method actor. And you're like, oh, so what? Who do you think you are? It's just acting, buddy. At least before I knew what method acting was, or before I ever worked in method acting, I always thought they were very posh, like method acting. What's with you people? Let's just act, just fucking act. And one of the big things for me that I believe a lot in is demystifying what that term means and helping people come to an understanding of what it is and helping them define it in their own way, which actually you can. And truthfully, you should. And let me explain. Method acting, let's get the word acting out of there and just look at the word method. Method means process. There's a method to doing a mathematical equation. There's a method to a scientific investigation. There's a method to everything we do. And the word method implies process. It implies discipline. It implies a degree of work. It implies a degree of understanding. It implies research. It implies a whole bunch of things that you thought you left at school and you never wanted to see again. But I think that it's very important to understand that part of the craft, the method. The fact that it's a method, that it's a process, and that it's a tool. And let me really define it through the prism of that idea, a tool. It's a tool you can use. And that's important. Because, people talk about acting in the most artistic and the most elevated ways. And that's great. But it's totally useless. Let's be fair. It's totally fucking useless. This art, and it's great. But who fucking cares? How can I do it? Right? I mean, the baker can talk about how delicious his bread is, but at some point you gotta make the fucking bread. You gotta get the water, you gotta get the flour, you gotta get the dough, you gotta get the oven, you gotta knead that shit and throw it in the oven and take it out. You gotta make it. And that's what I'm most concerned about as somebody who works with method actors, is helping you understand process. What is the process? How do we go from my dream of being an actor up on the stage? How do I go from my dream of being an actor to in front of the camera? How do I achieve that? How do I achieve that? And I'm not one of those people who believes that actors are born. You know, there's this great debate out there. Someone just forwarded me an article about the psychology and the biology and the genetics of actors are born or artists are born. I think that's really nice, but I think it's total fucking bullshit. Okay? Because we all are born with a certain degree of potential. And how we nurture that, that's the question, isn't it? And of course there are people who have genetic talent for thinking a certain way, or maybe moving a certain way, or being built a certain way, or looking a certain way. But at the end of the day, you can learn anything. You can learn anything. And that's true of acting as well. And what I feel that a lot of people need to understand about acting is not what is it, that's important, or how to recognize it, that's important too, or how to appreciate it, also important. But when you choose to become an actor, you have to figure out, how the fuck do I do it? How do I do it? And this is what I love about method acting, is that it has a method. It has a process. It's a system. And Stanislavski, the Russian Konstantin Stanislavski, who invented method acting, called it, not method, the system. And that's all it was. It was a system. And it's very important in the system to understand, first and foremost, how to use it. How to use it. But before we can use it, let's give it a definition. Let's do that. How about we do that? We give it a definition. What is method acting? Well, I think any person who teaches method acting like I do, or who practices method acting, like maybe some of you do, certainly like Sankal does, is to have a definition of what it is. I'm a big believer in having definitions. I'm not a huge believer in the fact that your definition is static, and it's written in granite, and it never changes. Definitions need to change, just like you change. But it's a good idea when you look at the map to have a destination, right? I'm like, I'm going to drive, yeah? Okay, so what is method acting? Well, the way I like to define it, and the way I choose to define it at my studio, is from action to cut, everything in between is real. You live the scene, you live the moment, you live the show, you live the shot, you live that dialogue for real. And why is that important? Because the more you feel the emotion as an actor, the more the audience will. That thing that people like Irfan Khan have been able to accomplish, that thing like Daniel Day-Lewis has been able to accomplish, Meryl Streep, who just always accomplishes it, okay? That thing where it goes from the screen into your heart, like it bypasses your brain, it goes right into your heart, or that moment where it goes right off the stage and right into your gut, that's not thinking, that's feeling. And we all know, and we all kind of became actors because of what films and television, theater represent to us emotionally. Think about it. Our childhoods are made up of the cartoons we watched, the films we watched. Our fondest memories are of things that we maybe saw or watched, shared with our friends and family. These are now no longer just a film or a piece of theater. They're part of our story. Our story. Yeah? So the more the actor genuinely feels his or her process, the more the audience will. Very much like when you're walking down the street and you see someone crying their eyes out. Come on, I mean, it doesn't matter who they are. You pause. You might not stop, bastard, but you definitely pause, right? Emotions are infectious. And the more we feel them for real, the more the audience will. So the question is, can you actually feel a real emotion in fiction? Is that possible? Well, yes. Don't take my word for it. Don't believe me. You ready to do this little thought exercise with me? Very simple. You already do. How do I already feel fiction more than I feel my own real life, Jeff? Quick question. You have a dream? A hope? A daydream? A fantasy? A nightmare? You don't feel those things? They don't wake you up in the morning? Your passion to be successful? Your passion to be an actor? Your hope to achieve a good role? Your daydreams about, winning a Filmfare Award or collecting a Cannes Best Actor Award or an Academy Award? Your nightmares don't scare you? Of course, you feel your emotions and live your dreams much more than you do your reality. Let's face it, people. Reality has its moments of niceness, but for the most part, it's pretty fucking boring, isn't it? But our dreams, our feelings, so everybody does it already. Now, the job of the method actor is to take that possibility of his or her imagination, to take that possibility of emotion and point it at a script, to point it at a character, and to accept the circumstances, the situation, and the relationships of that arc, of that story as their own. To make that character, to find that doorway in privately and become the character, to take on a degree of honesty with the character. And how do we do this? Well, we do it by fucking you up. I'm totally kidding. We do fuck you up though. But the thing is this. I don't have to fuck. People are like, oh, method actors are crazy. They're all emotional wrecks, this and that. Wrong. Guess what? Everybody's fucked up. Everybody. You know your banker who pretends he's normal? And your baker who pretends he's normal? Or your auntie who thinks she's normal? Right? Okay? Everybody plays it straight and narrow, right? Everybody's fucking insane. But the actor's job isn't to bake, isn't to bank. The actor's job is to feel. The resource of our material is our feelings. So, I'm not asking you to get crazy. I'm asking you to show me you're crazy. And to swim in it, to bask in it, to accept it. And why don't we do that? Why don't people naturally do that? Well, our socialization, our conditioning. We were raised to behave, to fit in, right? Right? Your mom said, don't cry, right? You can't have that toy, don't cry, right? Or, and you're Indian, right? Indians, you guys have the worst, all right? I've never met people more fucking bizarre than you. I love you, all right? My son's half Indian. But what the fuck, all right? Because in India, you're not allowed to show your emotions outside of the house. Why? Because everyone will judge you. The fucking guard in your building will judge you, right? But you can't show your emotions in the house because the people in the house will judge you, right? But then you ask Indians this question, are you an emotional people? And they're all like, yeah. So I'm just like, so you're all alone in the bathroom at 3 a.m. screaming in the mirror? Like, what is going on with you people? And I mean this jokingly. But what I'm saying is that we're taught from the time we're little children to behave, to fit in, to not cry, to not feel bad, to not hurt. We're taught to be okay. And it's killing all of us. It's killing all of us. Being okay. Because you're not always okay. Motherfucker, I can't remember the last time I was okay. And I mean that. I am never okay. And that's perfectly okay with me. So the first thing we do with the method actor is we take you like you're an onion. And we cut you right open. And we show you the layers. And it's not about us making you complicated. You are complicated. You have hopes. You have dreams, you have desires, you have responsibilities, you have thoughts, you have feelings, you have fears, you have passion. You have all of these things within you. I can't teach you how to feel. I'm not your dad. I'm not your mom. Certainly not your priest or your guru or your rabbi or your imam. Certainly not, the head of any cult. I can't teach you how to feel. You learned that through life. The job of the method acting training is to peel back the layers of who you are and allow you to have a sense of self. Who are you? And you're like, I know who I am, Jeff. Great, wonderful. But do you? And I don't mean that in a mysterious way. People sometimes say, Jeff, I don't know who I am. That, I think, is bullshit. I think that's total bullshit. Where I don't think their actors are born, we're like, I don't know who I am. Fuck off. You know exactly who you are. You're just too goddamn scared to admit it to yourself. Everybody knows who they are. You know you're a cheat, you know you're a liar, you know you're honest, you know you're a good friend, you know you're a bad friend. You know if you take money or if you earn money. You know if you're hardworking, you're not fucking stupid. Right? But your ego keeps telling you, this is the way I am, this is the way I am. The whole idea of the method acting is to peel back those layers. We don't want to fix you. The scientific seed of our work, and yes, science is a big part of what we do. Psychology is the root of what we do. And biology is the biology is the ground we build it on. And you're all like, this is acting, Jeff. No, you learn how to feel at the same time you learn how to feel and breathe and see and hear. Okay? The single, maybe not anymore, the single most secure sound in your life when you were a baby, you know what it was? The sound of your mother's voice. When you were born, it was the only thing you knew. It was the only reassuring thing you knew the minute you were born. Why? Because it's the only thing you heard consistently for 9 months. That's why it's so important that the mother hold the child within the first minute, 10 minutes, hour, whatever, of the child's life. That's why they put the baby on the child's chest. I mean, the baby on the mother's chest. So let's circle back around to this onion. You have to peel back the layers. Our job isn't to fix you. Our job isn't to make you feel good about yourself. Our job isn't to do what the psychologists do. Our job is simply to show you what is possible within you. And this is where we begin to talk about the inner life. And the inner life is this enormous spectrum of every emotion that ever existed, even the ones you haven't felt yet. And let me explain. The inner life is much like Roy G. Biv. Roy G. Biv is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, the colors of the rainbow. You hold up a crystal to the sunlight and you get these colors, yes? And they are responsible for every color that we can see with our eye. These 8 colors make up every other color, right? You dig? Well, there are 8 basic emotions. Love, joy, anger, hurt, dread, etc. And these 8 emotions make up everything else. Complicated emotions like longing, like adoration, like determination, right? So these 8 emotions make up everything. But your inner life has this huge, and I point to your belly, you know like how you ever had an emotion and felt like you've been punched in the tummy? You ever been upset and felt like throwing up? I don't know why it lives here, but it lives here. People like to say it's the heart. It's not the heart. It's the tummy. Now, it doesn't show up in an x-ray. It's not like you can find the inner life organ. Okay, it's not there. But you feel it here, yes? And within this inner life is the possibility, just like your genetic code, of every emotion that a human being could feel. And this is the beauty of being an actor. And I'll explain what I mean. That you belong to the most, once you become a method actor and you begin working from the resource of the inner life. Classical actors begin with the resource of language, which is very important as well. But the method actor begins with the resource of the inner life. And when you start to recognize the possibility and power of your inner life, you suddenly become a member of a universal, timeless, prehistoric, ancient, futuristic club, which is humanity. The one thing that has remained true in the time human beings have been on Earth, it's not our technology, it's not our clothes, it's not our beliefs, it's not our religions, it's not our societies, it's not our science. It's our feelings. 100,000 years ago, when thunder struck, lightning crashed, and the storm began, you know what people felt? Fear. You know what people feel today? Fear. You now recognize that you belong to the most timeless part of humanity. Everyone does, but you recognize it because you work with it. Now you might be wondering, Jeff, how am I different? Right, your mom told you, you're special. Okay, how are you special? Well, you are. I'm not going to deny that. What makes you unique is not that you feel. What makes you unique is how you express how you feel. And what makes that expression unique is something that has everything to do with you. Where you were born, when you were born, how you grew up, your family composition, the languages you speak, the religions you pray to, the family composition, your brothers, your sisters, your cat, your dog, your mommy, your daddy, your auntie, your uncle, your mossy, your master, the whole freaking goddamn clan. The school you went to, the teachers you had, the desk you sat in, front bencher, back bencher, how you did in school. These are your experiences. This is what we call the nurture. And this is what makes you unique, doesn't it? So the whole idea is to first accept I have an inner life. And it has a certain amount of experience. And that experience is shaped by my own experiences. How do you know what love is? Because you've been in it. Try to explain it to someone. What's love? Well, I like her. Why? I don't know. What's liking? Love. What's water? Wet. What's wet? Water. Okay. Fuck off. How do you know what water is? Because you jumped in the ocean. How do you know what love is? Because you felt it. Can you explain love to someone? It's like really liking someone. It's like I'm going to take all the shit that I said I'd never do and I do it. I'm not a hypocrite, but for you, baby, tell me what to do. Right? Tell me what to do. Okay? I'm never getting married again. Fuck it, let's get married. Okay? All right. That's a little bit of a personal one, guys. Sorry. Okay. I'm never getting married again. All right. Fuck it. Twice married, twice divorced. I'm happy. At least I'm telling myself that. There's some girl out there right now like, fuck it, Jeff's getting married again. Oh, yes. All right. No, definitely not having it. Fuck you, woman. Not having it. But you can't explain your emotions. They're magic. It's so beautiful, isn't it? In this world of ones and zeros and phones and Facebook and Instagram, there's still a little bit of magic left in all of us, which is our emotions. You can't fucking explain them. But everyone's inner life has a certain degree of experience based upon your breakups, your heartache, your failures, your successes, the houses you lived in, the way your mother and father treated you as children, the way your family's composition is set up, etc. Okay? A lot of things. And they go from literally, the first place we look at is the pale blue dot. There's this very famous moment when one of the satellites that NASA made was flying out of our solar system. Yes? And as it was about to fly out of our solar system, Carl Sagan, if you've heard of this TV show called Cosmos, it's on Netflix, fucking change your life. Get stoned, watch that shit, you'll be like, I am retarded, I know nothing. Okay? But, not that I'm suggesting drugs are a good thing, but if they're your thing, they're fine. Okay. But if they're not your thing, don't do them. All right? Just say no. Okay? But there's this wonderful thing that as this satellite was flying out of the solar system, Carl Sagan suggested to NASA to turn around and take a picture of Earth. And it's called the pale blue dot. And there, in the vast enormity of the ocean of our solar system, there's this tiny, tiny, tiny speck, the pale blue dot. And the most beautiful thing about it is every single thing that has ever happened to humanity, from the time we got here to today, and everything that will ever happen to humanity, is on that pale blue dot. It's pretty breathtaking, right? So when we start thinking about your experience, we start with the pale blue dot, and then we move into Earth, then we move to Asia, then we move to India, then we move to the city you grew up in, then we move to the part of the city you grew up in, then we move to the street you grew up on, and then the building you grew up in, and then the apartment you lived in, and then the room you lived in, and then the bed you slept in. Why? Because all of those things, from the pale blue dot down to the pillow you used to put your head on, shaped you, and nobody else in the universe has that experience but you. And that forms the understanding of experience that the inner life has. Correct? So your experience to that degree with the inner life. And that's the first place we start. We peel back that layer. Who the fuck are you? How did growing up in Delhi, Mumbai, Punjab, South India, abroad, how'd that affect you? Your dad was in the military. Your mom was a homemaker. Your mom was a school teacher. You didn't grow up with a mom. Your dad was always traveling. You were very close to your grandma. She made the best puris in the world, right? How did these things affect you? Because they're the ones that shaped the experience of your inner life. And once you start to inhabit those, you start to take on a degree of ownership of them. And at first, like all good method actors, as you go through this process, you're going to get a little pissed at your family. You're going to be like, you guys fucked me up, right? Okay, this has been a running fight between my parents and I for the last 20 years. Right? We still love each other, though. Well, we now love each other. We had a moment there where it was like, okay, we're related, huh? Okay, I'm teasing. We've always loved each other. And that is the first place that we begin. Now, a really good question, a logical question that you might be having right now is, Jeff, but I'm not always going to play myself. The circumstances of the script are not going to be mine. They're inherently fiction. So how the fuck do I get there? It's a great question. Well, luckily, God, science, evolution, I don't know who, armed us with the greatest, without a doubt, the single, absolute fucking greatest nuclear bomb ever. Imagination. Our imagination. It gives us the fiction that we feel. Remember those daydreams? Those nightmares? Those dreams? Those fantasies? Those fetishes? Those right there are usable. And when I say the word imagination, I'm not talking about just daydreams. I'm talking about everything that is imagination. Your memories. Come on in. It's okay. Or not. Okay. I can be scary, I guess. Imagination refers to your memories. Maybe you and the character will share a memory. You know, maybe the character and you grew up in the same place. Maybe you and the character are the same age. Maybe you and the character have the same religion. Maybe you and the character connect on something completely different. Maybe you and the character don't connect at all. Maybe you're going to play a 19th century British general who hates Indians. I get that a lot. All right? Okay. Tell me about it. You laugh, I cry. I'm so glad that was funny for all of you. Okay? But I have to find something in him. I have to find something in him that I can connect with. So I'm going to have to develop something about him that I can connect to. And in every character, you start to find that thing that belongs and you share between the two of you. But here's the trick. You're thinking, yeah, Jeff, okay, that's great about the imagination, but I forgot to mention something at the door. There is one thing I share with every character I play. It's the same thing you share with every character you play. It's the same thing we all share with each other. You know what? It's the same thing we all share with every person who has ever lived. Our emotions. What, you don't think that 19th century asshole British hating general didn't love his son? Hey, I love my son. You don't think he loved his wife? You don't think that he was scared or anxious? You don't think, and that's the universal currency. That's the universal currency. That's where I have to start working on him, around him, entering him, getting to know him. And these are all the processes and tools that bring us into a character. But the one thing that becomes transactional between the two of us, character and self, is that we feel. Is that we feel. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, an actor's job is to be an instrument of emotion. So think of the director as a conductor of a symphony orchestra, and you're just a violin of emotion. You play your part. Your job is not to create the music. Your job is not to conduct the music. Your job is to create the right sound at the right time to make it sound beautiful. That's your job. That really is your job. And one of the things that actors get stuck on all the time is trying to be the storyteller. And I always say this to my students. At some point, you have to stop being a critic of the script, a critic of the project, a critic of what you're doing. And the minute you agree, sign the dotted line, you become a colleague. And you have to recognize what your job is, and you have to do everything to enhance and elevate the project. So that's why sometimes you got to be a little picky. And I know we're going to wind down, but one last thing I'll say is this, ladies and gentlemen, because it fits right in with what I was trying to say earlier. I know you're all probably trying to figure out your careers. You're at different intersections of that process, with theater, with film, the web, okay. And trust me, Bollywood's trying to figure out the web too, so you're in the same boat. And I don't think they have figured it out. So, seems like the ship is sinking, and everyone's on fire, and there are no lifeboats. But what I would tell you is, as a actor, don't say you're an aspiring actor anymore. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't fucking do that. Aspiring sounds like you're still in the oven waiting for the bread to rise. You're an actor. Are you trained? Maybe. Have you done a lot of projects? Maybe. Maybe not. But the point is, you can walk into Mukesh Chopra's office, which is right over here, or Casting Bay, which is right over there, and get a job right now. You can. You might have the look they need, you might have the talent they need, you don't know, right? But you're an actor. So start to act like one. And the other thing I would tell you is redefine success for yourself. And success, money, fame, cover the Bombay Times, GQ, Man of the Year, Woman of the Year. Cool. In my view, success is work. 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 Get busy working. And stop trying to be in a film or on a show or in a piece of theater. Create a career. Create a career. Make choices that really resonate with yourself. Yeah, but Jeff, I need the money. Hey man, I'm never going to judge you for taking a money job. Are you kidding? I've done shitloads of money jobs when I needed the money. And that's cool. I'll be the first guy to buy you a cup of coffee if you do a money job. All right? Not a problem. But what I'm saying is, keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye focused on, what do I want from this? Well, you think Irfan Khan was the first guy in the history of Indian television who spent a decade plus on Indian television that always wanted to act in films? No. He's one of every guy on Indian television who's done that. But how did he make it happen? He kept his eye on the ball. Why do we all respect Nasruddin Shah today? Not because of his film work, but because he always kept his eye on the ball. That theater was the place he wanted to be. That's what he wanted to do. Right? Poor Kevin Spacey. What a great actor. Blew up his life with this whole sexual harassment thing. Whatever. Seems like a lot of people blew up their lives with that. But work. Understand your craft. Understand your tool. Ask your questions. Define success. And, very importantly, train. Now this is something, and I know we have to finish, but this is the most important thing. If you gentlemen and ladies today walk out of here remembering anything, I want you to remember this. Train. I've already trained. So what? I've been at this for 20 years, guys. I'm still learning. You can ask some club. You come to one class one day, you come back 6 months later, the same class, the same topic is taught completely differently. Why? Because I'm alive. My life is changing. My understanding of my life is changing. My understanding of my own inner life, my own imagination, my own dreams is evolving. And it's not about them. It's about having the tools to understand them. The tools to introspect and train. And that's really important. And every chance I get to speak to young actors or new actors or even actors halfway through their career, I tell them, first question, have you trained? And if the answer is no, I say you should. And I don't care how fucking talented you are. And I'll say that again. I don't give a shit at all how fucking talented you are. Not even a little. Okay? I have met many talented people. Talent, rabbit in the hair, right? You guys remember the rabbit in the hair? I mean the hair and the tortoise in the hair. Sorry. Rabbit is the hair. All right. It's been one of those days. It's Sunday. Fuck you. All right? The tortoise in the hair. All right? Here's the deal. Here's the deal. You want to know the deal? Talent is the hair. The gun goes off and you're winning the race. The guy who trains is the tortoise. And you know what happens to the tortoise? She or he takes their time, but they catch up. They catch up. And it's only when you get to the 99.99999999999th percentile where talent makes the difference. Talent is the tiniest part. It's fool's gold. It's fool's gold talent. Hard work, practice, training, tools, understanding, questions. These are the things that will sustain you. These are the things that will give you a career. How many talented actors have we seen come and vanish? So many. All over the world. Okay? So, some questions.
Some questions if you want to have it. There's 2-3 questions and then we can take it outside as well if you.
Sure, no problem. Fire away, gents, ladies.
If you want to ask some question to anyone here, or if you want to talk to him outside.
Go ahead, guys.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm here for you. So,
if you want to ask any questions.
Any questions? You can ask me anything.
Process. Yeah.
what's my favorite movie? What's my favorite color? I don't care. Go ahead. You got a question, anyone?
So you say you cut the actor in between like an onion, and you show him or her the layers of what he or she is. So once it is exposed, that person knows. It would be a troubling. As I can see from here, it can be troubling. It can be happy, sad, all those things. So now you've opened him up. And now he or she goes back to the society with that opened up thing. Over there, if the society is of 100 people, that for one person is just 199 are like living in the way they are, as our parents have grown us up. So how he or she will
fit in?
Reconcile?
It's a great question. It's a really good question, and it's one that I get a lot. Because especially in the program that I teach, the intermediate part of our program is like, forget cut you open. This is when I dice you into little tiny onion parts. I really fuck with you. Everybody who does intermediate comes out a little loopy. And the question you're asking is, how do I come back to reality? Wonderful question. You don't. And that's scary, right? It's kind of scary, like I'm a weirdo now. Well, I think you were a weirdo before you started. But now, you're not afraid to be. You recognize that. Now, of course, one thing I tell my students all the time is, look, you have to be a functioning member of society, and you have to figure out how to do that. You have to find tools and ways to like go out and be like a good son or a good person. And we talk about how to do that. But you're asking me, when someone becomes emotionally aware and they're unafraid to ask the questions about their socialization and their conditioning, how do they function in everyday life? Well, the answer is you find a way, but it hurts. And I think every artist, true artist, in the truest sense of things, is angry or hurt or sad because we look at the world and we say, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. And if you look at many artists, they throw their political or their socially minded or their environmentally minded thoughts around things. But that aside, look, I don't know how many senior actors you know. You ever many normal ones? They're all fucking crazy. And that's okay. That's okay. Because my question to you isn't, how do we fit back in? My question to you is, do you want to? And if if the currency of your work is your own emotions and your own exploration and your own dreams and your own thoughts, what better way to live? I mean, at the end of your life, okay, someone might have a lot more money than you. They might have had a lot more cars. They might have had a lot more whatever than you. But they may know nothing of themselves. So I'm asking you, all of you, what would you rather know? The inside of a Lamborghini and a Maserati? Or the inside of yourself? Which is more sustaining? Which is more fulfilling? Because no matter if you guys, the Hindus, are right, or whether or not the Catholics are right, I don't know. All I know is we're not coming back. Or if we do, we don't fucking remember it anyway. So I'd rather live my life, and I think every actor, to some degree, feels this way, having a degree of understanding of myself, or at the very least, the tools that will help me understand myself. And the way I always put this to my students, I have this very funny comparison I do, which is Salman Khan versus Daniel Day-Lewis, right? And people always giggle at this because it's pretty funny. And the question is, how do they compare? And how are they the same? And they're very much the same. They're both actors. And they both work in very different industries. They both tell very different stories. We all know that. And here's the thing. Salman Khan, when he wants to do a film, he digs into himself like maybe an inch deep. Bajrangi Bhaijaan might have been like 6 inches, right? Okay. Prem Ratan Payo, he didn't bring a shovel. He just took a piss on the ground. Okay. All right. But he goes about this deep. Okay. And the audience likes that because the audience that watches that stuff is not stupid. This Indian producer thing, no. Indians, even the most village backward Indians, are clever. All right. Intelligence, just because you haven't read Shakespeare doesn't make you fucking stupid. Just because you don't know what the hell Shashi Tharoor is talking about doesn't make you stupid. I don't even know what the fuck Shashi Tharoor is talking about. Right? I don't think he knows what he's talking about. All right. But the point is that, look, people have an emotional maturity. Yeah? And that emotional maturity for Salman's audience is somewhere between 2nd standard and 8th standard. Think about the type of things people fight about. Think about what you see on Colors TV. The way people behave with each other. It's very immature, right? So you only need to go 6 inches deep. You don't need to go to the depths of your guts, right? Because it's understood in that language of emotions, you can't marry him, and everyone understands because they're different castes. It's already like everyone gets it, right? It fits in, right? Then you go over to Daniel Day-Lewis, and he digs a fucking hole to the center of the universe. Because he gets us into the nuance of what it is to be alive, what it feels like to come apart at the seams, the depths of us. So, now, think about it. The aunties, like the Parathas, I love Parathas, gotta say. All right, but the auntie company, the auntie police, right? Love those people. My mom, all right? If Jews in America could have aunties, my mom's an auntie, all right? And I love her. She's fucking the best. Best person in the world to hang out with is my mom, all right? And best person to watch a movie with is my mom, right? And you take someone who has never, ever in their life seen or felt themselves that deeply. How are they going to relate to a Daniel Day-Lewis film? But then you take somebody who feels life like it's happening to them. Every breath is hard, so they live in the Daniel Day-Lewis space. And then they watch Salman Khan and they're like, this is so frivolous. Right? The question is, which is better? It doesn't matter. The question is, how deep do you go? And that's only you who can answer that. And that circles back to your original question, which is, how do you function normally? And as you learn the tools, as you learn the skill, you, all of you, if you endeavor to become method actors, will realize when you start hitting the weird shit. That's normal. During your training, you have this moment, you're like, I think I'm going too deep. And you know what you do then? Pause. Stop. It's okay. It's okay. All right? You don't have to become Daniel Day-Lewis. And not everyone can. And not everyone should. And some people need to be Salman Khan. And that's okay. And that's okay. The trick isn't how deep you go. There's actually no trick. But the is, what is your truth? So you watch, say, I'll tell you guys, if you had to find the most vulnerable moment in Salman Khan's career, as far as I've seen his films, and the most vulnerable moment in Daniel Day-Lewis's films, you can actually find their most vulnerable moments in 2 images. In Sultan, that scene where he takes his shirt off, and he's got that belly, he's looking in the mirror, that is the most raw and vulnerable you'll probably ever see Salman. For him to stand in front of his audience and be fat, that's an admission of weakness. Now Salman has made a career of strength. And then you go over to Daniel Day-Lewis. Remember the beginning of There Will Be Blood? And he's stuck in the bottom of that fucking pit, digging, sweating. That's Daniel Day. Which is better? Hey man, some people like samosas, and some people like hamburgers. Some people like samosas and hamburgers. It's a question of taste. Okay? That answer your question? Yes.
Don't you think that going deep at instances is a little deviating? I mean, I'm talking about this in terms of if we say that the theater in a way represents the society and talking about the Brethian viewpoint, the alienation effect, he really believes that alienation effect is very important while doing theater because, you know, with the emotional connect, people tend to really forget. Like for example, when you're talking about that auntie and I'm, you know, getting emotionally connect with that auntie that, oh my God, how she might be feeling, you know, she has to do all this work all the day. But what about in terms of alienation effect? I feel that the another person will be thinking that what exactly is the reason behind that auntie being in that situation. So I mean, can you like talk a little bit about that?
That's a great question. I don't know whose theory this is, this alienation theory.
Bertolt Brecht.
Okay, great. Bertolt Brecht. Okay, sorry. Right. Look, I think that this is a really interesting question and it's very theoretical. And it certainly was theoretical. And it sort of hits upon how do you define the role of theater. And it very much, how do you define the role of performing arts? And is the role of the performing arts to be a museum of, or like a fish tank of, we go and we watch ourselves and we have this intellectual conversation and this societal reckoning, and the piece represents a notion in the society, in the politics, in the economics, in the place and time that it exists, and helps people unlock some degree of agitation, conversation, and awareness. Because if you're doing work that creates alienation, what you're doing is you're trying, if you want work to be alienating to the audience, okay, then what you're doing is you want them to engage with the material in a thoughtful way, which is brilliant and beautiful. On the flip side, another very viable way to look at theater and or film is to have the audience engaged so much so that they live that dream, that they live that journey, that they become one with the audience, and that the emotional arc is the real currency. Now, I personally believe in the latter, not the former, okay? But I understand the role of the former, particularly as somebody who's a writer and who's trying to say things. But ultimately, my fear with the alienation of an audience is that what connects us to an experience is the emotion. That is the currency of what we transact in as audience and performer. In terms of analyzing things and being critical of them, which is what alienation sort of segues. You know, look, I think that that's really important, and I think that's very interesting. But if we lived in a world where people had the tools of education, where that they could do that in a very objective, non-agenda-esque type of way, I'd love that. But we don't live in that world. And I'll give you an example. A perfect example would be if I had a photograph. Say I just had a photograph. If I was off in the world, right, and this is the problem with photojournalism. I was off in the world, and I took a photograph of a burning hut. And in front of it, and it was a burning hut, and just all kinds of, clearly this is a war zone, and standing in front of the hut is this man, downtrodden, looking terrible, right? And he's clearly from, say, the Middle East, let's say, right? And I take this photo, click it, right? Now I'm a photojournalist, and I turn around and I sell my photo to the New York Post, which is a very conservative American newspaper, and I sell my photo to Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera could put a headline that says, "Massacre in Idlib." New York Post can put a caption that says, "We're winning." Same photo, same person, same village, same burning hut. But the interpretation has been stolen from me and been co-opted by these opinions. And this is the problem of art, is that art can be co-opted. For instance, there's a very famous German composer of classical music named Wagner. And Wagner's music was used by the Nazis. Now, Wagner lived 100 years before the Nazis. I mean, he had no idea what Nazism is. But today, the whole Nazi has co-opted this music, and it's like, but Wagner had nothing to do with the Nazis any more than certain things do otherwise. And I love this question because it's such a right question to ask. However, my fear is that today and yesterday, and then yesterday, hopefully tomorrow, but not today, we don't have a society that lives in a place that's willing to have objective debates. Places where people can speak to each other, disagree but speak, and listen. And, you know, for instance, and this is something from your own country, and several of you from Delhi, you know, my problem with what happened at JNU wasn't the fact that kids got arrested. It wasn't the fact that it was seditious. All of that I didn't care about. The only thing I thought was weird is young people at universities are questioning the way society is. Pause. Every university in the history of the world has done just that. That's weird that that's a problem. And in a democratic society, no matter what they're saying, you should welcome it.
Yes.
Listen to it. If the young people are saying, we don't like this, why is that bad? Maybe as an enlightened leader, you should listen, like, okay, what can we do to help you? Don't show up with the cops and the Latte sticks. Show up with a typewriter and a tape recorder and be like, let's talk.
Yes.
And have a thoughtful conversation. We can't do that. We can't do that. And I'll explain why we can't do that. We can do that. It's a good idea. And in my own country, it's a fucking disaster. It's a fucking disaster. I mean, Trump, oh my God. Who is this guy? Like, really, who is this guy? But he's not the problem. He's a representation. He's a representation of the fact that we don't talk to each other anymore. People don't listen to each other anymore. What the fuck, man? I invite all of you. I dare you. I double dare you. Try to produce a political piece in this country today. Especially for film and television. No one will touch it. No one will touch it. Akshay Kumar is making a career. I don't know the man. Can't say anything about him. He's making a career at the moment doing what? Waving the tricolor.
Exactly.
Why? Because people want to wave the tricolor. And even Vishal Bhagwat in Haider, the first half of that film is like a political rant against the Indian military. It is like seditious. You ever watch that film? Right, the film. But that part, I was like, oh my God, this is really critical. How do you make this? Right? I was like worried for him. I was like, someone called Vishal, he might be in trouble. Right? Like there's gonna be a fatwa or whatever the hell it's called for on his ass. Yeah? And then at the end of the film, there's this big paragraph saying the Indian military has cleaned things up, we'd like to thank them. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, why did you give it away? You made a statement. Good for you. But in India, you can't do that.
That's the fear.
Right. And it's the same all over the world. It's not just in India. Please, like, I'm just using an example that's relevant to you. America is as fucking retarded. All right? Okay? And France, oh my God, please. It's retarded and everyone's fucking each other. So you can imagine how weird that is. All right? So my view is this, and now I'm going to quote, actually, I'm going to paraphrase a story from my own life. There's a very, very well-known British filmmaker named Ken Loach. Very big fan of his work. He's made socially minded films his whole career. He's a Brit. And he was once awarded, I think this is the coolest thing about Ken Loach. He was awarded a knighthood by the Queen. You know what he said? No. He said no. He said, I've worked my whole life against this institution. I'm not going to take that shit now. Fuck you. All right? He's won the Cannes Film Festival a bunch of times and everything. He's a really famous guy. And they were just like, yeah. He's like, no, sorry. Not interested. Okay? That's the Italian way to say, vaffanculo, which means go fuck yourself. All right? Now, okay, I had the pleasure to see him present one of his films in Belgium once upon a time. And he said something that really stuck with me. And this is maybe a nice place, because I think we have to end things up. This is a nice place to end, which is, he said, look, the role of art, we could debate that all day. There are a lot of things. Immanuel Kant wrote a book about that. Tolstoy wrote a book about that. There have been so many books about what is art. Bertolt Brecht has endeavored to this question. Okay. What he said was, the United Auto Workers of the United States used to have a slogan that was really good. The union, for the guys who put the cars and the women who put the cars together, their slogan was, agitate, educate, and organize. Agitate, educate, and organize. A film can't organize. It's not like at the end of the film, great, everyone go to the parking lot, we're going to talk, and we're going to march on the parliament. That's not going to happen. Educate, 2-hour-long film, hour-and-a-half-long play is not enough to educate you. Topics are much more dense than just an hour and a half or 2 hours. What art can do is agitate you. Agitate you to go out and get organized. Agitate you to go out and get educated. Agitation is an emotion. To be agitated. That is why I do not agree with the alienation. So, as we wind down, thank you a lot. I had a lot of fun.
And we have Jeff outside. So
Yeah, so if you want to come and ask me any more questions, I'll hang out for a little bit because I got to go put my son to bed soon.
with a cup of tea.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, in your art, as in your life, as in your inner life, be fearless. Be unafraid. Be unafraid of what you feel. Be fearless. Be unafraid to fail, and be unafraid to succeed. Redefine everything you do every day, not because you're a bastard or you're crazy, but because when you constantly redefine things, you're constantly proving to yourself why you do them and reinventing why you do them.
Yes.
And that is very special. So thanks a lot. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. If you have any questions, I'll be sitting outside. Me and Tolstoy. My money's still in there? We're good?